NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Dover, presented by Principal Financial Group. Our starting grid, Jeff Gordon managed to pick up his third pole of the year by just 1/1000th of a second over outside front row starter Mark Martin. And now while you watch to see where your favorite driver is starting, let's visit with our in-race reporter, the driver of the Bass Pro Shop Chevy, Martin Truex Jr., who starts 16th here today.
Martin, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, go ahead, Dale.
Martin, we heard you say in the countdown show that your car was not where it needed to be at the end of practice. What was your main issue, and what changes have you made to correct it?
No, Dale, our car was pretty good for about 5 or 6 laps, and it just seemed to fall off too quick. It lost grip too fast. So we've done some things with our air pressure to try to help that. I think the track's going to be a lot slicker and slower today as we run here. So hopefully we'll have something we can work with.
Hey, Martin, our second question comes from our ESPN mailbag, and Fernando in Columbia, South Carolina would like to know, as a former chaser, you know what's at stake. Will you race the chasers differently today at your home track than at other tracks?
I'll be as nice as I can be to them, but we're trying to get this Bass Pro car victory lane at the same time. So we'll see what happens. I race them guys clean every week, no matter what the circumstances, and I don't expect to do any different today.
All right, Martin, thanks. Have a great day. And now Andy's going to talk with your crew chief, Kevin Mannion.
Hey, Bono, Andy Petrie, you got us up here?
Sure do, man.
You guys are in that hot spot, I call it, on pit road, right there where everything funnels down. How are you going to keep the fenders on this thing on pit road?
Well, the Bass crew hopefully have some good pit stops today. This pit road, if you're not in box 1, it's a hot spot everywhere here. So we're right on a timing line here on pit road. So we thought we got one of the best spots, and we'll just see what happens.
Okay, Bono, good luck today. Thanks for talking to us.
Hi, guys. Thank you.
Everyone knows the Monster Mile can bite you in a lot of different places. For more, let's go down to the pits. First, here's Shannon Spake.
Yeah, Doc, as you just said, they call this place the Monster Mile, but in fact, one of the most treacherous locations on this track is right here, the entrance to pit road. When these guys are coming down, especially under green, trying to get slowed down to pit road speed, navigating their way down the banking, it could be extremely treacherous. How so? Just ask Ryan Newman, who in 2004 found out the hard way. What about Matt Kenseth, who later that same season felt the wrath of this pit road entrance? And once the guys do get slowed down and on to pit road, it is just the beginning of their unpredictable journey. Isn't that right, Mike Massaro?
That's right, Shannon, and that journey gets even trickier as they make their entrance into their pit box. These boxes are some of the shortest and narrowest on the circuit. Certainly a challenge, but adding to that, consider this. The distance from the outside of the pit box to the wall, only 25 feet. These cars are about 6.5 feet wide, so it's difficult to go too wide down this pit road. It's such a challenge that crew chief Chad Canals told me earlier this morning it's the most difficult pit road on the circuit and made an ominous prediction. He said he predicts one of the chase drivers will have problems on pit road getting into their box today. Jamie?
Well, Mike, once the team has serviced their car, he's off the jack stands. He's far from over and far from being clear. That was the case of the nationwide race last night. You saw Cliff Boyer, Carl Edwards on the exit of pit road. Because it's so narrow, they got together. That's something we see happen in Dover quite a lot. And Jimmy Johnson just said a little while ago he was watching that nationwide race. All these teams are heads up that this is going to happen. So the bottom line, they have to have great communication with their pit spot, with their spotter upstairs, their crew chief on the box, and of course the driver always has to be heads up. Dave Burns?
Jamie, recall what happened to Jeff Gordon last week at Loudon on pit road. Even though it's a very wide pit road, a car blocked him in on a couple different occasions, and he lost valuable positions on pit road. That didn't make anybody on his team very happy. This week, he's got a much better situation. By qualifying on the pole, we've already talked about it. He has the first pit stall, and no one will block him in. He is the last one on pit road. He's the first one out, and nobody to stop his progress leaving pit road. Doc?
Thanks, guys. In the heat of the action, providing our over-the-wall coverage will be Michael Waltrip's front tire carrier, Chris Hall. There's Chris getting loosened up down on pit road. We will take you inside the action throughout the afternoon with onboard cameras on 8 different cars, including 5 of the chase contenders. This is a 400-lap, 400-mile race on a high-banked concrete oval in Dover, Delaware. This broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button presented by ESPN Deportes. For decades, drivers have called this place the Monster Mile. They know it as a 3-story high concrete cage that can crash cars and crush championship dreams in the blink of an eye. 43 drivers have visions of victory. 12 are also thinking championship. But can they escape the wrath of the monster? We are all about to find out together. Jeff Gordon not wasting any time to be aggressive early on. You can stay out of trouble if you can stay out front.
Yeah, it makes things a lot easier when you can get that jump like he got on the start of the race. I think Mark Martin just wanted to get himself down to the bottom of the racetrack. He made that difficult. He lost a couple of spots in trying to do that. Denny Hamlin moved up to the 2nd spot.
It's a long race. Got trouble already. Man.
Kurt Busch slams the wall here on lap 2, so it's car number 2 on lap 2. There's Paul Menard spinning, and Michael Waltrip gets by him.
Yeah, that's the kind of things that happen you see there.
Especially left rear.
Right there, things happening behind the actual accident that happens. We'll have to take a look. We weren't looking right at that when it happened and see if there was some contact that created this situation for Kurt Busch, who was very optimistic.
I gave him plenty of room, didn't I? He just washed right up the hill, man.
Happened in the corner, so these guys had a little bit of room to work around this. If this had happened off the corner into the straightaway, we would have seen a lot more people probably in there.
Yeah, I think it's the 38 car, David Gilliland, who he's talking about, that he gave room down into the corner. You see him race side by side. David Gilliland just gets loose going into turn 1, and we talked about this all weekend long of how difficult it is entering these corners. You overdrive it just a little bit, the car bottoms out right there, and the next thing you know, you're up into the car beside you.
Kurt Busch had a great qualifying effort starting outside of row 2, and now he brings out the first caution of the day. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. This
on the bottom here.
move by Tony Stewart.
Yellow's out. Yellow, yellow, yellow.
Man, that could have been devastating to his championship hopes. Paul Menard spun right in front of him. Tony did a great job of avoiding that.
Coming out of turn 4, headed back to the green flag, Jeff Gordon, our pole sitter, has led all 4 laps thus far. There is Kyle Busch, moving on the bottom of the racetrack inside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. That is for 8th spot.
And we watch these guys. They're single file now, and I can assure you that these drivers, as long as they weren't a part of the first caution, they were glad to see one that they can get single file and race now instead of having to be 2 and 3 wide all the time.
Carl Edwards, remember these guys qualified back in 20th and 22nd. There's Edwards in the 99 car making a move. He is now in 19th position. That's Burton behind him at 31 and 20th.
He's chasing that 48 car up ahead of him. Jimmy Johnson's making some ground too early. These guys don't want to stay back there too long.
No, they don't. We see back there the 31, the 6, and the 29 all battling. And we heard Jeff Burton say earlier that his car was good. It wasn't that fast on the start, but he really liked what happened after 15 laps. So we'll have to watch his progress. See Carl Edwards trying to pick up another spot off of turn 4.
This car looked great in happy hour yesterday, and it's going to be fast right off the bat.
He goes around Ryan Newman, and next up for Carl Edwards would be Jimmy Johnson in the 17th position. There's Jimmy in the 48 car.
Yeah, you can see the 28 getting loose. You see Dale Jr. right here passing Kyle Busch and taking the spot away from him.
These guys are going back and forth. It was Junior, then Kyle, then back to Junior.
Yeah, this 88 car was the fastest car in the first practice session yesterday. In happy hour, they tried a few things and didn't seem to be quite as good. Must have gone back to what they had in the first practice.
And you could hear with Kyle Busch's onboard there, him losing a little traction up out of turn 2.
Now you can hear that engine rev up over those little rises.
Dave?
Talked to his crew chief, Steve Addington, this morning about the car. He said we're pretty close. We went back to the most comfortable setup we had. It might have been a tenth of a second slower than the fastest setup we had, but we wanted Kyle to be comfortable all day long. And now we think we're capable of running with them. I said, who's them? Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson. Those are the 3 cars that they think they'll have to beat today.
He was awfully good back in the spring. Here is the 16 car he was talking about, Greg Biffle, and battling side by side with Martin for position. and that is the third spot that Biffle has taken away.
You can see Mark kind of clipped the apron there getting down into turn 3, and that shot him up the racetrack a little. Now Matt Kenseth trying to take that spot away from him. Mark was trying to get the spot away from Greg Biffle.
Here comes Jamie McMurray also, and he's one of the guys that I thought would be a sleeper today. He's one of those Roush drivers that is very good here at this track.
McMurray has 5 top 10 finishes at Dover and 11 spots.
Oh, we got trouble off 2.
And car sideways.
Oh, Carl.
Right in front of the 99 is the 10
Carl
car.
Edwards got a piece of that.
Yeah, Patrick Carpentier loops around.
I did everything I could there.
Yeah, I think he's going to have left front and right front damage. Now, speaking of Carl Edwards.
Not real bad. I'm going to stay out.
He made a move towards pit road and then decided to stay out. He feels it's not bad enough to come in early. The penalty for pitting early is to go to the tail end of the longest line, and he wanted to go ahead and avoid that.
It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Just the bumper. Didn't even hit the fender.
Now watch the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, try to get through. He's right behind Carpentier.
Yeah, you can see him get loose right there. Jimmy Johnson down on the inside, so he's just hoping that he does. Oh, wow. How close is that?
If he just clips the right rear corner of that car right there, it's going to shoot Jimmy Johnson in the wall, and then you see Carl Edwards get just a piece of that.
Yeah, I thought Carl actually got the outside wall when I first saw it, but he didn't. He didn't touch that. I think he just gets a little bit in the left front here.
Watch it here. Stay low. Watch him go high. Go high.
Wow, wow.
That's a hard decision to make right there in the Dale. When you got to see that guy. Which way do you go?
I can't even tell you how difficult that is. Carl Edwards did a fantastic job. You know, coming off the corner, though, that generally these cars go to the bottom of the racetrack. You can see Carl just hit him with the left front. But we've seen how tough these race cars are, Andy, so I don't think that's going to hurt him.
I'm amazed how much these cars do take. That was a pretty good lick.
Greg Biffle now on pit road. He will come down and get service on last week's winner, Dave.
Even though Greg Biffle may have been making up positions on the racetrack, his communication to crew chief Greg Irwin was, I can't even drive it. They need an air pressure adjustment up in the left rear, down in the right rear, and 2 rounds of wedge. The car not operating like it was yesterday for Biffle.
Tony Stewart has been on pit road in the 20 car. 2-time champion. There's Montoya. You see Stewart coming down, and he will head back on to the racetrack, working caution for the 2nd time today.